The moment Sofia Russo's trembling hands sent ice water cascading across Dante Salvatore's custom suit, she knew her invisible life was over. The restaurant fell silent. The most dangerous man in the city stared at her, not with rage, but with something far more terrifying: interest. Within 48 hours, he would own her future. Within 6 months, he would own her heart. But tonight, as his dark eyes locked onto hers and a slow smile curved his lips, all she could think was, I'm dead. Like this video, comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels, and follow to the end. Because what started as a $5 million bet became the most dangerous love story you'll ever hear. The fluorescent lights of Romano's bistro buzzed overhead, casting everything in that sickly yellow glow that made even fresh pasta look questionable. Sofia Russo moved through the cramped kitchen like a ghost, her body on autopilot after another 12-hour shift that would barely cover her mother's medication. Order up, table 7. She grabbed the plates, scalding hot, always too hot, and shouldered through the swinging door into the dining room. Friday nights were hell, the place packed with people who had money to burn while she counted pennies for bus fare. Excuse me, miss, this chicken is cold. I asked for no onions. Do you people even listen? Can we get some service over here? Sophia smiled, always smiled, even when her feet screamed and her lower back felt like it was held together with duct tape and prayer. She was 26 and felt 50, overweight, overlooked, and so tired she sometimes forgot what it felt like to want anything beyond sleep. She cleared table 12, stacked the dishes, and turned toward the kitchen. That's when she saw him. The man at table 1 didn't fit. Everything about him screamed wrong for Romano's, from the perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than her annual salary, to the way he sat with absolute stillness while chaos swirled around him. 2 men flanked him, standing rather than sitting, their eyes constantly scanning. Sophia had lived in this city long enough to recognize power. Real power, the kind that didn't need to announce itself. She tried to slip past, head down, invisible as always. You. His voice cut through the noise. Low, precise. Come here. Her stomach dropped. She looked up. He was younger than she expected, maybe mid-30s, with the kind of face that belonged in movies about dangerous men. Sharp jaw, dark hair pushed back, and eyes that seemed to calculate the worth of everything they touched, including her. Are you going to stand there staring, or are you going to take my order? Heat flooded her cheeks. Sorry, yes, what can I get you? Whiskey, neat, and whatever your chef actually knows how to cook. The lasagna is good. Then lasagna. He handed her the menu without looking at it, his attention already back on the phone in his hand. Dismissed, like she was nothing. Sophia hurried to the bar, put in the order, and tried to ignore the way her hands shook. Something about that man made the hair on the back of her neck stand up, made her want to be anywhere else. Who's the suit? Marco, the bartender, slid the whiskey across to her. No idea. Dante Salvatore. Marco's voice dropped. You don't know who that is? She shook her head. Jesus, Soph, you really do live under a rock. He glanced toward table 1, then back. That's the guy who owns half the city. And I don't mean real estate, I mean owns. As in, if you cross him, they find pieces of you in the harbor. The glass slipped in her grip. She caught it, barely. You're messing with me. I'm really not. Whatever you do, don't piss him off. Great. Perfect. Just what her disaster of a day needed. Sophia carried the whiskey back on a tray, moving carefully through the crowd. She was 3 feet from the table when someone shoved past her, drunk businessman, not watching where he was going. The tray tilted. Everything happened in slow motion, the glass sliding, her desperate grab for it, the amber liquid arcing through the air in a perfect, terrible parabola, and landing directly in Dante Salvatore's lap. The restaurant went silent, ice cubes scattered across the table, whiskey soaked into expensive fabric. Dante stood slowly looking down at himself, then up at her. Sophia couldn't breathe. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. She grabbed napkins, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold them. I'll pay for the cleaning. Stop. She froze. He tilted his head, studying her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. Not angry, not yet. Just watching, like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. What's your name? Sophia. Sophia Russo. Sophia. He tested it, turning the syllables over. How long have you worked here? 3 years? And in those 3 years, has anyone ever really looked at you? The question hit like a slap. She opened her mouth, closed it. No, he said, answering for her. They don't. You're furniture to them. Background noise. Tears burned behind her eyes. She would not cry. Not here, not in front of him. I'm very sorry about your suit, Mr. Salvatore. Dante Salvatore. He pulled out his phone, tapped something, and her own phone buzzed in her pocket. That's my number. Be at Russo's on 5th Avenue tomorrow at 2. What? Why would I? Because I'm about to change your life. He stepped around her, his bodyguards falling into formation. Don't be late. And then he was gone, leaving her standing there with whiskey-soaked napkins and a restaurant full of staring faces. Sophia didn't sleep that night. She lay in her cramped apartment, one room, really, with a bathroom the size of a closet, and stared at the water-stained ceiling. Her mother's breathing rattled from the pull-out couch 6 feet away. Stage 4 cancer. The kind where doctors stopped using words like remission and started talking about comfort. Medical bills covered the tiny kitchen table in neat, hopeless stacks. $47,000. That's what she owed, even after insurance, after payment plans, after begging for discounts. Her mother had maybe 6 months. Maybe. And Sophia had $1,200 in her bank account. She pulled out her phone and stared at the number he'd sent. Dante Salvatore, the name Marco had whispered like a curse. I'm about to change your life. What did that even mean? Why would someone like him care about someone like her? Can't sleep? Her mother's voice was soft in the darkness. Just thinking. About that man Marco told me about? Her mom coughed, wet and thick. The one you dumped whiskey on? I didn't dump it. It was an accident. A pause. He gave you his number? Mom, go. What? Her mother shifted, trying to sit up. Sophia moved to help, propping pillows behind her. Whatever he wants, her mom said, go find out. What's the worst that could happen? He could be a killer, a monster. He could make me disappear. But she didn't say that. Instead, she kissed her mother's forehead and whispered, okay. Russo's on 5th Avenue was the kind of restaurant that had velvet ropes and a waiting list 3 months long. Sophia stood outside at 1:55 wearing her only decent dress, black, simple, covering all the parts of herself she'd learned to hide. A man in a dark suit appeared beside her. Miss Russo? She nodded. This way. He led her through a side entrance, past the kitchen, and into a private dining room she hadn't known existed. Dante sat at the head of a long table, paperwork spread before him. Sit, he said without looking up. She sat. He finished reading whatever document held his attention, signed it with a heavy pen, and finally looked at her. Really looked. Like he was cataloging every flaw, every extra pound, every insecurity she carried. You're late. I'm 3 minutes early. My time is valuable. Early is on time. On time is late. Sophia bit back a response. She needed this, whatever this was. Why am I here? Dante leaned back in his chair. You're here because I have a problem, and you're the solution. I don't understand. My father, he said, the word carrying weight, is a man who believes in tradition, old world values. He thinks I need a wife, stability, an heir. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. He's given me 6 months to produce a fiancé, or he hands my position to my cousin. I still don't understand what this has to do with me. I need someone no one will see coming, someone my enemies will underestimate, someone who looks like... He gestured at her. You. The words landed like stones. Like me, she repeated flatly. Soft, harmless, forgettable. He said it without malice, just stating facts. The kind of woman who fades into backgrounds, who powerful men ignore because they assume she's no threat. Sophia stood. I think I'm done here. Sit down. No, you want someone to insult? Find someone else. A $5 million. She stopped halfway to the door. That's what I'll pay you, Dante continued. 6 months as my fiancée, then my wife. You play the role. You stand beside me at events. You smile for cameras, and when it's over, you walk away with 5 million in your account. Sophia turned slowly. You're insane. I'm practical. My father wants to see me settled. My enemies want to find weakness. You give me both. Someone who satisfies tradition while appearing to be exactly what you said. No threat, no danger. He pulled out a contract thick with legal text. 6 months, that's all I'm asking. Why would anyone believe you'd choose me? Because I'll tell them exactly what they expect to hear, that I found you refreshing, different from the vapid socialites who usually chase my money, that your authenticity appealed to me. He slid the contract across the table. It's a story they'll eat up because it confirms what they already believe, that I'm eccentric, unpredictable. And if I say no, then you go back to Romano's bistro and watch your mother die buried in medical debt. The cruelty of it stole her breath. How do you know about... I know everything, Sophia. It's my job to know. He tapped the contract. Take the deal. Save your mother. Give yourself a future. Her hands trembled as she picked up the paper. The numbers swam before her eyes. 5 million. Her mother could have the best care. Could die somewhere peaceful, not in that cramped apartment that smelled like disinfectant and defeat. What if I embarrass you? What if I can't? You'll learn. I'll provide everything you need. Clothes, training, whatever it takes to make this convincing. And after 6 months, we divorce quietly. You disappear with your money. We never see each other again. It sounded too easy, too perfect. What's the catch? Dante's expression didn't change. The catch is that you'll spend 6 months in a world that will judge every breath you take. You'll be photographed, criticized, torn apart by people who think they're better than you, and you'll smile through all of it. He leaned forward. Can you do that, Sophia? Can you be invisible while everyone's watching? She thought about her mother, about the bills, about 3 more years of Romano's bistro until her body gave out completely. She thought about never being seen, never being valued, always being less than. Where do I sign? The transformation started immediately. Dante's people descended on her life like a tactical team. They packed up her apartment, moved her mother to a private care facility that looked like a resort, and installed Sophia in a guest room of Dante's mansion that was bigger than her entire previous living space. This is temporary, the woman explained. Mira, Dante's assistant, sharp-eyed and efficient. You'll move to the master wing after the engagement announcement. For now, we need to get you ready. Ready for what? Everything. The next 3 days were hell. Personal trainers who pushed her until she wanted to vomit. Nutritionists who analyzed every bite. A team of stylists who measured, photographed, and discussed her body like she wasn't standing right there. We'll need to minimize the hips. Dark colors. Nothing that draws attention to problem areas. Can we do something about the hair? It's so dull. Sophia stood on a pedestal in her underwear while strangers circled her and tried to remember why she'd agreed to this. $5 million. Your mother's care. A future. Stop looking so miserable. Dante's voice cut through the chatter. She turned. He leaned against the doorframe, watching the chaos with detached amusement. Easy for you to say. No one's discussing your problem areas. They wouldn't dare. He dismissed the team with a gesture. Give us the room. When they were alone, he circled her slowly, clinical, assessing. You hate this. What gave it away? Good. Use it. He stopped in front of her. Anger is better than defeat. Hold on to it. Why do you care? Because I need you sharp, not broken. A broken woman is obvious. An angry woman is dangerous. His eyes held hers. Which one are you? Sophia lifted her chin. I'm the woman taking your $5 million. His mouth twitched. Then let's make sure you earn it. The engagement announcement came 2 weeks later. Dante's PR team orchestrated it perfectly. A surprise proposal at a charity gala, complete with photographers who'd been tipped off in advance. Sophia wore a dress that cost more than her car, deep emerald green, fitted in ways that made her uncomfortable but somehow worked. Remember, Dante murmured as they entered the ballroom, you're in love with me, besotted, grateful. I think I'm going to be sick. Don't. That dress is irreplaceable. The room sparkled with wealth. Crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, women draped in diamonds that could fund small countries. Sophia felt every eye turn toward them, felt the whispers start immediately. Is that really his fiancée? Where did he find her? She's so ordinary. Dante's hand settled on her lower back, guiding her through the crowd. To anyone watching, it looked possessive, protective. Only she could feel how little pressure he actually applied, how careful he was not to actually touch her. Dante, congratulations! A silver-haired man approached, drink in hand. I heard the news. Quite the surprise. Marcus, good to see you. Dante's smile was pure calculation. This is my fiancée, Sophia. Marcus's eyes swept over her, dismissive. Charming. How did you two meet? She dumped a drink on me. Surprised laughter. How romantic. I thought so. Dante's arm tightened around her waist. A signal. She's refreshingly honest, different from the usual crowd. I can see that. Marcus's tone made it clear what he meant. Well, best wishes to you both. He walked away, and Sophia heard him mutter to his companion, Give it 3 months. Ignore him, Dante said quietly. I'm trying. No, I said ignore him. You're looking at the floor. Eyes up. You're my fiancé now. Act like it. She forced her head up, forced a smile. The next hour was torture. An endless parade of introductions, each one a fresh wound. The looks ranged from confusion to barely concealed amusement. No one was cruel enough to say it to her face, but she could read it in every expression. What is Dante Salvatore doing with her? By the time they reached the center of the ballroom for the proposal, Sophia's face hurt from fake smiling. Dante dropped to one knee with practiced grace, pulled out a ring box. The room fell silent. Sophia Russo, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear, you've given me something I didn't know I was missing. Will you marry me? Every eye in the room locked onto her. This was it, the moment that would define the next 6 months. She could say no, walk away, let him find someone else. Or she could take the hand of the most dangerous man she'd ever met and step into a life that terrified her. Yes, she whispered, louder. Yes! She let him slip the ring onto her finger, a rock so big it felt obscene. Yes, I'll marry you. Applause erupted. Dante stood, pulled her close, and kissed her. It was for show, completely for show. His lips barely brushed hers, his hands careful on her waist. But her heart hammered anyway, her skin flushed, and for just a second she forgot it was all a lie. When he pulled back, his eyes held a warning. Don't get confused. The rest of the night blurred. Congratulations she didn't deserve. Questions she'd been coached to answer. Through it all, Dante stayed close, playing the attentive fiancé while his eyes constantly scanned the room. It wasn't until they were in the car heading home that he finally relaxed. You did well. I felt like an imposter. You are an imposter. That's the point. He looked at her. But you held your ground. That's what matters. They hated me. They don't know what to make of you. There's a difference. Sophia twisted the ring on her finger. It caught the streetlights, throwing rainbow sparks. This isn't real, is it? The diamond. It's real. Everything about this needs to be convincing. He paused. You'll keep it when we're done. Part of the deal. I don't want it. Then sell it. I don't care. But while you're wearing it, you're mine. Act accordingly. The word mine shouldn't have sent a shiver through her. But it did. Life in Dante's world moved at a different speed. Within a week, Sophia had a new wardrobe, new hair, new everything. Stylists descended daily. She learned which fork to use, how to make small talk about nothing, how to smile when women who'd barely acknowledged her existence suddenly wanted to be her best friend. They don't like you, Mira explained during one of their coaching sessions. They like your proximity to power. Learn the difference. How do I know who's real? You don't. Assume everyone wants something. It was the loneliest advice Sophia had ever received. The nights were stranger still. She'd moved to the master wing as planned, but Dante maintained separate bedrooms. She'd see him at breakfast, him in suits, her in designer loungewear she'd never have chosen, and they'd discuss the day's schedule like coworkers. Dinner with the Castellanos tonight, 8 sharp. What do I need to know? Victor Castellano runs the Port Authority. His wife collects art and gossip. Compliment her taste. Don't mention politics. Anything else? Don't drink too much. You talk when you're nervous. He wasn't wrong. That night, sitting across from the Castellanos in a restaurant where the menu didn't list prices, Sophia watched Dante transform. He was charming, engaged, exactly the kind of man someone would build a criminal empire around. And when Victor made a comment about trading up from his previous lifestyle, Dante's hand found hers across the table. I didn't trade up, he said smoothly. I finally figured out what mattered. It was a lie. All of it. But Sophia felt her face flush anyway. Later in the car, she said, You're good at this, pretending. I'm good at many things. Must be exhausting, never being real. He was quiet for a long moment. You assume I know the difference anymore. It was the most honest thing he'd said to her. 3 weeks into the engagement, Dante's father requested a meeting. Marco Salvatore doesn't request, Mira warned. He summons. They drove to an estate outside the city. Old money, old power, the kind of place that had been in the family for generations. Sophia's stomach churned the entire way. Stay quiet unless he asks you a direct question, Dante instructed. Be respectful, and whatever you do, don't show fear. What happens if I do? He'll eat you alive. Great. Fantastic. Marco Salvatore was 73 and looked like every nightmare about mob bosses made flesh. White hair, sharp eyes, and a stillness that reminded her of Dante. The resemblance was unsettling. So, Marco said after they'd been seated in his study, this is the girl. Her name is Sophia. I know her name. Marco's gaze raked over her. Stand up. Sophia stood, forcing herself not to shake. He circled her slowly. My son tells me you're different from the others, that you have substance. I try, sir. Do you love him? The question came like a blade. Yes, she lied. Interesting. Marco returned to his desk. Because when I look at you, I see a woman who's terrified, who doesn't understand what world she's entered. With respect, sir, anyone who enters this world and isn't terrified is a fool. Silence. Then Marco laughed, a rough barking sound. She has teeth, good. You'll need them. He looked at Dante. I approve, but understand this, girl. If you hurt my son, if you embarrass this family, you'll wish you'd stayed in whatever hole he found you in. Papa, she understands, don't you, Sophia? Yes, sir. Then we're done here. Outside, after they'd escaped, Sophia leaned against the car and tried to breathe. That was... I know. Dante looked almost impressed. You handled him better than most. I think I'm going to throw up. Please don't. This is a new car. Despite everything, she laughed. It came out shaky and wrong, but it was real. And for just a second, Dante smiled. Not the calculated smile he showed the world, but something genuine. It was gone in an instant, but Sophia saw it and realized with growing horror that this might be more complicated than she'd thought. The nightmares started in week 4. Sophia would wake gasping, tangled in sheets that cost more than her monthly rent used to, her heart hammering against her ribs. In the dreams, she was back at Romano's bistro, but everyone wore masks of Dante's face, watching her with those calculating dark eyes, while she served tables that stretched into infinity. She'd stumble to the bathroom, splash cold water on her face, and try to remember who she was supposed to be now. The girl from the restaurant felt like someone else's memory. You look like hell, Dante said over breakfast one morning, not looking up from his tablet. Good morning to you, too. I'm serious. You have the Metropolitan Museum benefit tonight. Every camera in the city will be there. Sophia poked at her egg white omelet, another nutritionist-approved meal that tasted like sadness. I'll manage. Will you? Now he looked at her, really looked. Because if you fall apart in public, it reflects on both of us. I'm not falling apart. You're not sleeping. Don't think I haven't noticed. Of course he'd noticed. Dante noticed everything. It was his superpower and his curse. Bad dreams, that's all. About? She set down her fork. Does it matter? Everything matters. If something's affecting your performance, my performance. The words tasted bitter. That's all this is to you, isn't it? One long performance. Dante's expression didn't change. What else would it be? She couldn't answer that, wouldn't let herself answer that. Because somewhere in the past month, the lines had started blurring in ways that terrified her more than Marco Salvatore ever could. The way Dante's hand automatically found the small of her back in crowds. The way he'd started explaining things to her, not talking down, but actually teaching her about his world. The way he sometimes looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention, like he was trying to solve an equation that kept changing. "Nothing," she said finally. "You're right, it's nothing." His phone buzzed, he glanced at it, frowned. "I need to handle something. Mira will prep you for tonight." He left without another word, and Sophia sat alone in the massive dining room, surrounded by luxury she still didn't feel entitled to touch. Her phone rang. Her mother. "Hey, Mama." "Sophia, oh, sweetheart, you should see this place." Her mother's voice was stronger than it had been in months. "They brought me fresh flowers this morning, real ones, not those grocery store things. And the doctor, he's so patient, he actually listens." Tears burned behind Sophia's eyes. "I'm glad." "Are you happy, baby?" The question landed like a punch. "I'm managing." "That's not what I asked." Sophia looked around the empty room, at the table that could seat 20, at the windows that overlooked a garden she'd never walked through. "I don't know what I am anymore." "Then figure it out. Life's too short to spend it pretending." Her mother coughed, softer now, thanks to better medication. "I love you. Don't forget that part of yourself." After they hung up, Sophia sat in the silence and wondered which part of herself her mother meant, because she was losing track of all the versions she'd been. The invisible girl from Romano's, the fake fiancé playing dress-up, the woman who caught herself watching Dante's hands when he signed contracts, wondering what they'd feel like if he ever really touched her. She hated that last version most of all. The Metropolitan Museum benefit was exactly the kind of event Sophia had learned to dread. Old money, new money, and criminal money all pretending they couldn't tell the difference. She wore red, a bold choice, Mira had said, meant to make her impossible to ignore. It worked, for all the wrong reasons. Is that what she's wearing? Someone should tell her red isn't slimming. I mean, points for confidence, I suppose. The whispers followed her like smoke. Dante appeared at her side, immaculate in a tuxedo that probably cost more than the dress earning her so much attention. "Ignore them," he murmured. "Easy for you to say. No one's critiquing your body. They critique everything else. You learn to stop listening." "How?" He guided her toward the museum's main hall, where art worth millions hung on walls like wallpaper. By remembering their gnats, annoying but ultimately irrelevant. "These gnats control half the city." "No, I control half the city. They just don't know it yet." The arrogance should have been off-putting. Instead, Sophia felt something dangerously close to admiration. Dante moved through this world like he owned it because in many ways, he did. Dante and the lovely Sophia. A woman approached, mid-40s, dripping in diamonds, smile sharp as broken glass. "Victoria Chen, we met at the engagement party." "Of course." "The art collector." Sophia had memorized the guest list like her life depended on it. Because it kind of did. "You remember." Victoria's surprise seemed genuine. "How sweet. Tell me, how are you adjusting to all this?" She gestured vaguely at the opulence surrounding them. "It's an adjustment," Sophia admitted. "I'm sure. Such a change from your previous circumstances." The pause before circumstances was deliberate. "What was it you did before? Waitressing?" Dante's hand tightened on her waist. A warning. "I worked in hospitality," Sophia said evenly. "It taught me a lot about people." "I'm sure it did." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Well, enjoy the evening. Do try the canapes. They're divine." She drifted away, and Sophia released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. "Vulture," Dante muttered. "She was just establishing hierarchy, reminding you that you don't belong." He turned her to face him. "Don't let her. Don't let any of them." "How am I supposed to do that when they're right?" "They're not right. They're just cruel." Something flickered in his expression. "You want to know the truth about these people? Half of them are drowning in debt. The other half inherited everything they have and contributed nothing. Victoria Chen? Her great-grandfather was a smuggler, but 3 generations later, everyone forgets. And you? My father's a monster. My grandfather was worse. I'm just the latest version of the same story. He said it without emotion, like reciting facts from a textbook. The difference is, I don't pretend otherwise. Before Sophia could respond, a man approached, younger than most of the crowd, expensive suit that didn't quite fit right. Something about him made her skin crawl. Cousin, Dante's voice went cold. I didn't realize you'd be here. Wouldn't miss it. The whole family's talking about your engagement. The man's eyes slid over Sophia like oil. Marco Salvatore Jr. We met briefly at... I remember, Sophia lied. She hadn't. But the way Dante's entire body had gone rigid told her everything she needed to know about this man. The famous Sophia. My uncle's quite taken with you. Junior smiled, and it was nothing like Dante's calculated expressions. This smile belonged on something that crawled out from under rocks. Though I have to admit, I don't quite see the appeal. No offense. None taken, Sophia said, even as her face burned. Junior. Dante's voice could have cut steel. Walk away. Touchy. I'm just making conversation with my future cousin-in-law. You're being an ass, which isn't conversation. It's just your natural state. Junior's smile faltered. Careful, cousin. Grandfather's watching. Wouldn't want him to think you can't control your temper. He glanced at Sophia. Or your woman. Dante moved so fast Sophia barely registered it. One moment Junior was standing there smirking. The next, Dante had him by the lapels, voice dropping to something lethal. Say one more word about her. Just one. See what happens. Dante? Sophia touched his arm, felt the tension coiled there like a spring about to snap. For a horrible second, she thought he wouldn't stop. That he'd actually hurt Junior right here, in front of everyone. Then he released him with a shove that sent Junior stumbling back. Stay away from her, Dante said. That's not a request. Junior straightened his jacket, trying to salvage dignity. You're making a mistake with her. Everyone can see it. Then everyone's an idiot. After Junior slunk away, Dante turned to Sophia. His jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. I'm sorry. That was hot, she blurted out, then immediately wanted to die. I mean, unnecessary. That was unnecessary. His eyebrow lifted. Hot? I didn't say that. You definitely said that. I'm going to get a drink. She fled toward this bar, face burning, cursing herself with every step. What was wrong with her? This wasn't real. None of this was real. Dante had defended her because it served the illusion, not because he actually cared. She needed to remember that. The bartender handed her champagne she didn't want. She was bringing it to her lips when someone bumped her elbow hard enough to slosh liquid onto her dress. Oh no, I'm so sorry. The woman, early 20s, blonde, perfect, dabbed at Sophia's dress with a napkin, making it worse. It's fine, Sophia said, stepping back. Really, I'm such a klutz. Here, I said it's fine. The woman stopped, napkin halfway to Sophia's chest. In her eyes, Sophia saw something that made her stomach drop. This hadn't been an accident. You should be more careful, the woman said sweetly. Champagne stains, especially on red. Everyone will notice. She walked away, and Sophia stood there with a spreading dark patch on her dress, feeling every eye in the room swivel toward her. Victoria Chen appeared at her elbow, tisking. What a shame, and it was such a bold choice. Please excuse me. Sophia headed for the bathroom before the tears could start. She locked herself in a stall and pressed her forehead against the cool metal door. Breathed, counted to 10. Reminded herself that $5 million could buy a lot of therapy to process this humiliation. The bathroom door opened, multiple footsteps. Did you see her face? Brittany, you're terrible. What? Someone needed to take her down a peg, parading around here like she belongs. Sophia froze. I heard she was a waitress, like at a chain restaurant. No wonder Dante keeps her hidden. Can you imagine introducing that to actual people? Laughter. Cruel, casual laughter. Give it 2 months. He'll get bored and trade up. If he makes it 2 months, I give it 3 weeks before he realizes what a mistake he's made. They left, still laughing, and Sophia stayed in the stall until her legs stopped shaking. When she finally emerged, she looked at herself in the mirror. The stain had spread, dark and obvious. Her makeup was smudged. Her carefully styled hair was falling. She looked exactly like what she was, a girl playing dress-up in a world that would never accept her. The door opened again. Sophia braced for another attack, but it was just an older woman, 70 if she was a day, wearing a simple black gown and pearls that were probably worth a small fortune. "Champagne?" the woman asked, nodding at the stain. "Apparently I'm a magnet for spilled drinks. Or you're surrounded by jealous children who mistake cruelty for power." The woman moved to the sink, washing her hands with deliberate care. "I'm Elena Castellano, Victor's mother." Sophia remembered the dinner, the careful conversation. "We met at Russo's, yes. My son talks too much and listens too little. A family failing." Elena dried her hands, studying Sophia with sharp eyes. "They're tearing you apart out there." "I noticed." "Good. Means you're paying attention." Elena pulled out a compact, offered it to Sophia. "Fix your face. Then go back out there." "I look ridiculous. You look human. There's a difference." Elena snapped the compact shut after Sophia used it. "You want to know a secret? Most of these people are terrified. Terrified someone will discover they're frauds, that they don't deserve what they have, that they're one bad investment from losing everything. They hide it well. Because they've had practice. You haven't. That's not weakness. It's honesty." Elena moved toward the door, paused. Dante Salvatore is many things, most of them unpleasant. But he's not stupid. If he chose you, he had reasons. Don't let these vultures convince you otherwise. She left, and Sophia stared at her reflection. Fix your face. Go back out there. She could do that. She'd done harder things, like watching her mother waste away, like accepting a deal with a dangerous man because the alternative was worse. This was just rich people being cruel. She'd survived worse. Sophia straightened her spine, fixed her lipstick, and walked back into the hall like she owned it. Dante found her within seconds, his eyes scanning the stain on her dress. "What happened?" "Accident. It's fine." "It's not fine. Who—" "It doesn't matter." She met his gaze steadily. "I can handle it." Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I'm starting to think you can." They left the benefit early, claiming a headache that wasn't entirely a lie. In the car, Dante was silent, his jaw working like he was chewing through thoughts too dangerous to speak. "You're angry," Sophia said. "I'm furious." "At me?" "At them, at Junior, at every smug bastard who thinks they can—" He cut himself off, breathing hard. "This was a mistake. I should have prepared you better." "For what? Cruelty? I've been fat my whole life, Dante. You think this is my first time being bullied?" He turned to look at her, really look. "That doesn't make it acceptable." "No, but it makes it survivable." She pulled off her heels. Her feet were screaming. "I knew what I was signing up for. A world that would judge me. You told me that from the beginning." "Knowing it and living it are different things." "Yeah, they are." She watched the city slide past the window. "But $5 million buys a lot of therapy." He almost smiled. "Almost. You're tougher than I thought." "Surprise, the fat girl has teeth." "Stop doing that." "Doing what?" "Reducing yourself to what they see. You're more than that." Sophia laughed, harsh and bitter. "Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, I'm exactly what everyone thinks. A girl who got lucky, who stumbled into something she doesn't understand or deserve." Luck had nothing to do with it. Dante shifted to face her fully. "I chose you because you were invisible. But you know what I'm realizing? You weren't invisible because you're unremarkable. You were invisible because people are lazy. They see surface and stop looking." "And you look deeper?" "I looked pragmatically, which led to the same place." He paused. "You survived poverty, watched your mother deteriorate, worked yourself to exhaustion for years. And you're still here, still fighting. That's not luck, that's steel." The words hit harder than any insult Victoria Chen could throw. "Why are you saying this?" "Because someone should, and because—" He stopped, something warring in his expression. "Because this arrangement works better if you believe in yourself." "Right. The arrangement, the deal, the performance. Sophia turned back to the window. We should maintain the fiction that I have a headache. I'll go straight to my room when we get back. Sophia, eat. Good night, Dante. She didn't wait for his response. The next morning, Sophia woke to find an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a handwritten note on heavy cardstock. Self-defense training. 10 a.m., gym. Don't be late. It was unsigned, but she recognized Dante's sharp, efficient handwriting. She almost didn't go. Almost stayed in bed and pretended she hadn't seen it. But curiosity won. The gym was in the mansion's basement, a full setup with weights, cardio equipment, and a matted area that looked like it belonged in a dojo. Dante was already there, wearing workout clothes that should be illegal, wrapping his hands with practiced efficiency. You came, he said, not looking up. You left a cryptic note. What else was I supposed to do? Ignore it. Most people would have. He finished with his hands, tossed her a pair of gloves. Put these on. I don't know how to... I'm going to teach you. That's the point. Sophia pulled on the gloves, feeling ridiculous. Why? Because last night you were cornered in a bathroom by women who took pleasure in your pain, and you had no recourse, no power. He moved to the mat, gestured for her to follow. I can't control what they say, but I can teach you to stand your ground physically, to feel less helpless. I'm not going to punch Victoria Chen. No, but you'll know you could. There's power in that. For the next hour, he put her through basic defensive moves. How to break a grip, where to strike to cause maximum damage, how to use someone's weight against them. He was patient in ways she hadn't expected. When she fumbled a movement, he'd demonstrate again, adjusting her stance with hands that were surprisingly gentle. Good. Now again. Harder this time. She threw a punch at the pad he held. It landed with a satisfying thwack. Harder. I don't want to hurt you. You won't. I've been hit by professionals. Give me everything. So she did. Channeled every insult, every humiliation, every moment she'd felt small and worthless into her fist. The impact jolted up her arm. Dante stumbled back a step. There it is, he said, grinning, actually grinning. That's what I wanted to see. Sophia stared at her gloved hands, breathing hard, feeling something fierce and unfamiliar burn in her chest. Again, she said. They trained until she was drenched in sweat, her muscles screaming. But when they finally stopped, she felt different, stronger, like she'd reclaimed something she hadn't known was missing. Thank you, she said, pulling off the gloves. Don't thank me. Show up tomorrow. We're doing this every day until it's muscle memory. Every day? You want to survive this world? You need to be able to defend yourself in every way that matters. He started unwrapping his hands, and Sophia caught a glimpse of scarred knuckles, old injuries that had healed wrong. How many times have you had to defend yourself? More than I can count, less than I probably deserved. He looked at her. This life I've brought you into, it's dangerous. Not just socially. People like Junior, my father's enemies, anyone who thinks they can use you to get to me. You need to be ready. You sound worried. I'm practical, there's a difference. But Sophia wasn't sure she believed him anymore. The training became routine. Every morning, 10 a.m., no excuses. Dante pushed her hard, sometimes too hard, but she learned how to fall without breaking, how to strike without hesitation, how to see threats before they materialized, and slowly, something else started happening. The morning conversation stretched longer. Coffee turned into breakfast, turned into Dante actually asking about her day, about her mother's progress, about what she thought of the latest social event they'd attended. You were right about the Marshalls, he said one morning, reading through emails while she stretched. Their company's about to collapse. How did you know? Mrs. Marshall's dress. She wore the same one to the last 3 events, and her jewelry was paste. Good paste, but paste. She's liquidating assets. Dante looked up from his phone. You got all that from a dress? You see what you pay attention to. Rich people ignore the help, but the help sees everything. His expression shifted, something between admiration and calculation. What else do you see? The Chens are having marriage problems. Robert Torres is embezzling from his own company. And your cousin Junior is planning something. I don't know what, but he watches you like he's waiting for you to fail. He's been doing that since we were children. Nothing new. Maybe, but he's getting bolder. Last week at the opera, he spent the whole intermission talking to your father. Whatever they discussed, it made Marco smile. Dante went very still. And you're telling me this now? I'm telling you now because I wasn't sure it mattered, but you asked what I see. He set down his phone, giving her his full attention. What else? So she told him. Every observation, every small detail she'd catalogued without consciously meaning to. Who was sleeping with whom? Which business deals were smoke and mirrors? Which of his supposed allies were positioning for betrayal? When she finished, Dante was quiet for a long moment. You're wasted as arm candy, he said finally. Excuse me? This, he gestured at her. What you just did, that's intelligence work, real intelligence. My people spend thousands bribing staff for information you gathered just by paying attention. Sophia felt heat rise in her cheeks. I just notice things. You notice everything, and you're smart enough to synthesize it into something useful. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. From now on, you brief me after every event, everything you observed, everyone who stood out. That's not part of our deal. Consider it an amendment. You give me intelligence, I give you, what do you want? What? Name it. What would make this arrangement more bearable? Sophia thought about it, about what she actually wanted versus what she thought she should want. Time with my mother, real time, not just phone calls. Done. Wednesdays and Sundays, no obligations. Anything else? Teach me about your business, the real business, not just the social politics. His eyebrows rose. Why? Because I'm tired of being decoration. If I'm going to be part of this world, I want to understand it. She met his gaze steadily. And because I think you're lonely. I think everyone around you either fears you or wants something from you. And maybe having one person who's just curious might be nice. The silence stretched. That's a dangerous thing to offer, Dante said quietly. I'm starting to realize everything about you is dangerous. His mouth quirked. And yet you're still here. $5 million is very motivating. Is that still why you're here? The question hung between them like smoke. Sophia should have said yes. Should have reinforced the boundaries, reminded them both this was temporary. Instead, she said, ask me again in a month. Something flashed in Dante's eyes, surprise maybe, or something more complicated. Deal, he said. And just like that, the arrangement shifted into something neither of them had planned for. Something that felt dangerously close to real. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. One morning, Sophia woke up and realized she'd stopped counting the days until her contract ended. Stopped mentally calculating how much longer she had to endure this life. Because somewhere between the brutal training sessions and the late-night briefings, between learning to read a room and learning to throw a proper punch, she'd stopped just enduring. She was living. It terrified her. You're distracted, Dante said, blocking her strike with ease. They were in the gym, 2 months into their daily routine, and he'd gotten better at reading her tells. What's going on? Nothing. Liar. He swept her legs and she hit the mat hard enough to knock the wind out of her. Again. And this time, focus. Sophia rolled to her feet, breathing hard. I am focused. On what? Because it's not on me. That was the problem. She was focused on him entirely too much. The way his shirt stuck to his back when he worked out. The rare moments when he laughed. Really laughed. Not the cold amusement he showed the world. The way he'd started asking her opinion on business decisions. Actually listening when she answered. I'm tired, she said instead. That's all. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. We'll cut it short today. You have that fitting at 2 anyway. Right, the wedding dress fitting, because in 3 weeks they were getting married. The thought sat in her stomach like a stone. Dante, can I ask you something? You're going to anyway. Why haven't you ever been married? Before all this, I mean. His expression shuddered. That's a complicated question. We've got time. He unwrapped his hands slowly, not looking at her. I was engaged once, long time ago, before I took over the family business. Sophia waited. She'd learned that silence made him talk more than questions ever could. Her name was Elena. Not Castellano, different Elena. She was soft, kind, everything I wasn't. He tossed the wraps aside. My father told me she'd make me weak, that love was a liability in our world. I told him to go to hell. What happened? Junior happened. He convinced her I was dangerous, showed her pictures of things I'd done, things I had to do to survive. She left. Dante's jaw tightened. She was right to. I was dangerous, still am. But your father was wrong. Was he? She's alive, married to some accountant in Connecticut with 3 kids and a dog. She got out. He finally looked at Sophia. If she'd stayed with me, she'd have ended up collateral damage. That's what happens to people I care about. The weight of that confession hung between them. Is that why you chose me? Because you knew you wouldn't care? I chose you because you were convenient, smart, underestimated. He paused. And yes, because I thought I could keep my distance. Could? The word slipped out before she could stop it. Past tense? Dante moved closer, and Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. He reached out, and for one insane moment she thought he might touch her face. Instead, he pulled a piece of lint from her hair. You should shower. You'll be late for your fitting. He walked away, leaving her standing there with her pulse racing and her thoughts in chaos. The wedding dress fitting was torture. Mira had chosen 3 options, each more elaborate than the last. White silk, lace beading that probably cost more than Sophia's childhood home. She stood on a platform while seamstresses pinned and tucked, trying not to think about the fact that this dress was for a wedding that wasn't real. Except it was starting to feel real. The bust needs taking in, one seamstress said. And the waist. Definitely the waist. Maybe if we add a panel here. I can hear you, Sophia said quietly. They stopped, needles hovering. We're just trying to make it perfect, the head seamstress said, not unkindly. I know, but you don't need to pretend I'm not in the room while you discuss my flaws. Mira cleared her throat. Ladies, give us a moment. When they were alone, Mira studied Sophia with that sharp, assessing gaze that missed nothing. You're different lately. Am I? Less broken. More angry. Mira smiled. I like it. Yeah, well, anger's easier than whatever else this is. You mean feelings? For Dante? Sophia's head snapped up. I don't... Please. I've worked for him for 6 years. I know what he looks like when he's going through the motions. And lately... Mira shook her head. He's not going through the motions anymore. It's an act, all of it. Maybe it started that way, but people are complicated. Feelings don't follow contracts. Mira moved closer, dropping her voice. Be careful. Dante's world doesn't forgive weakness, and loving him, that's the biggest weakness of all. I don't love him. Then you're a better liar than I thought. The seamstresses returned before Sophia could respond, and she spent the next hour being poked and prodded while Mira's words echoed in her head. She didn't love Dante. She couldn't. That wasn't part of the deal. But when she looked at herself in the mirror, wearing a wedding dress for a marriage that was supposed to be fake, she wasn't sure anymore. That night, Dante had a business dinner, the kind she wasn't invited to, which was fine. She needed space, time to clear her head and remember who she was. Instead, she found herself in his study. She'd been in here before for their briefings, but never alone, never with the freedom to actually look around. The room was all dark wood and leather, shelves lined with books that looked actually read. A chess set sat on the side table, pieces frozen mid-game. Sophia moved to his desk. Papers were stacked neatly, contracts, financial reports, things she probably shouldn't be seeing. She wasn't trying to snoop, just trying to understand. A folder caught her eye. Her name on the tab. She knew she shouldn't, knew opening it violated every boundary they'd established. She opened it anyway. Inside were reports. Background checks on her, her mother, everyone she'd ever known. Photos from before, her at Romano's, leaving the apartment, living her invisible life. Notes in Dante's handwriting about her routines, her vulnerabilities, her debts. This was how he'd chosen her. Not chance, not fate. Cold calculation. She'd known that, of course, but seeing it laid out like a dossier on a target made it real in ways that hurt. Sophia was about to close the folder when she saw the second section. Recent notes. Observations from the past 2 months. Smart. Observant. Stronger than she knows. Question her choice of self-defense training as therapeutic outlet. Laughs at terrible jokes. Hides vulnerability behind sarcasm. And then, in fresher ink, dated just 3 days ago. Reconsider terms. This isn't working. Her breath caught. He wanted out. Of course he did. She'd become a complication instead of a convenience. I should have locked that. Sophia spun around. Dante stood in the doorway, still in his suit, face unreadable. The dinner ended early, he continued, moving into the room. And I see you've been busy. I wasn't snooping. I was just going through my private files. Yeah, that's literally the definition of snooping. Heat flooded her face. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. No, you shouldn't have. He took the folder from her hands, closed it. But now that you have, what's your question? What does that mean? This isn't working. Dante set the folder down, put distance between them. It means exactly what it sounds like. This arrangement we made, it's not working. Because I'm screwing up? Because I'm not good enough at playing to... Because you're too good at it. He turned to face her. You were supposed to be a convenient fiction, a solution to a problem. But you've become... What? A complication. He said it like a curse. I don't do complications, Sophia. I don't do feelings or attachments or any of the things that make people vulnerable. Then why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like I matter. The silence stretched between them, thick and charged. You should go, Dante said finally. No. Sophia No. You don't get to do this. Pull me into your world, make me care, make me... She stopped, the words catching. Make me feel like I'm more than just a transaction, and then shut down the second it gets complicated. I'm trying to protect you. From what? Your enemies? Your father? Or from you? All of it. He moved closer, and she saw something raw in his expression. You think I don't know what I am? What this life does to people? Elena got out because I let her, but you, I'm not Elena. No, you're not. You're braver and stupider, and you look at me like I'm something worth saving. His voice roughened, and that terrifies me more than any threat Junior could make. Sophia's heart was beating so hard she could barely breathe. So what do we do? I don't know. That's not good enough. It's all I have. She should walk away. Should remember this was always going to end. Should protect herself while she still could. Instead, she closed the distance between them. Then figure it out, because I'm not leaving. Sophia, I'm not leaving, she repeated. So either throw me out or admit that maybe, just maybe, you want me to stay. Dante stared at her like she'd just detonated a bomb. Maybe she had. This is a mistake, he said. Probably. It'll end badly. Most things do. I can't promise you anything. Not safety, not happiness, not... She kissed him. It wasn't planned, wasn't smart, but she kissed him anyway, rising on her toes to reach, hands fisting in his shirt to keep from shaking. For one terrible second, he didn't respond, just stood frozen while she made a complete fool of herself. Then he kissed her back. His hands came up to frame her face, gentle, despite the intensity in his eyes. The kiss was nothing like she'd imagined, not rough or demanding, but searching, like he was trying to solve a problem with his mouth. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. This changes everything, he said. I know. The deal, the arrangement, I know. We should talk about, later. She kissed him again, softer this time. We'll figure it out later. They didn't make it to later. They made it to his bedroom, shedding clothes and complications in equal measure. And when Dante touched her, really touched her, like she was something precious instead of something to be used, Sophia understood what Mira had meant. This was the biggest weakness of all. But she was done being afraid of it. Morning came too fast. Sophia woke tangled in sheets that smelled like Dante, in a bed she'd never slept in before. He was already up, standing by the window in just his pants, looking out at the garden with an expression she couldn't read. Hey, she said softly. He turned. Hey. Awkward silence. The kind that happened when people crossed lines they couldn't uncross. We should probably talk, Sophia started. My father's coming to dinner tonight. The non sequitur threw her. What? Marco. He called this morning. Wants to discuss wedding details. Dante's jaw was tight. He's bringing Junior. Oh. Yeah. Oh. He moved to the bed, sat on the edge. Last night was a mistake? I was going to say inevitable, but mistake works too. Sophia sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. You regret it. I regret that it makes things complicated, that it puts you at risk, that my father's going to take one look at you tonight and know everything changed. He looked at her. But do I regret you? No. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me, and it's still depressing. Despite everything, he almost smiled. Romance isn't my strong suit. Really? I hadn't noticed. This time he did smile, and Sophia felt her chest tighten. This was dangerous. This was exactly what she'd promised herself wouldn't happen, but it was also the most real thing she'd felt in years. So what do we do? She asked. Tonight, we play the game. Happy couple, excited about the wedding. His expression hardened. And we give my father and Junior nothing, no ammunition, no weakness. They're going to know something's different. Probably, but knowing and proving are different things. He stood, started getting dressed. Stay sharp, trust no one, and whatever happens, don't let them separate us. You're scaring me. Good. Fear keeps you alive. The dinner was a disaster waiting to happen. Marco arrived at 7 sharp, Junior slinking behind him like a shadow. Sophia wore a conservative blue dress, Mira's choice, designed to look respectful and demure. Sophia! Marco pulled her into a hug that felt like a threat. You look lovely. Doesn't she look lovely, Junior? Lovely, Junior echoed, his eyes crawling over her in ways that made her skin itch. Dante's hand found her back, fingers pressing hard enough to leave marks. A warning. Shall we eat? Dante said, voice pleasant and dangerous. Dinner was tense. Marco dominated the conversation, telling stories from Dante's childhood that painted him as either ruthless or weak depending on the punchline. Junior laughed at all the right moments, playing the dutiful nephew. Sophia ate mechanically, watching the dynamics. Marco testing Dante, Junior watching for cracks, both of them circling like sharks. So, Sophia, Marco said over dessert, 3 weeks until the wedding. Excited? Very much. No doubts? No cold feet? Should I have doubts? Most women would. Marrying into this family. He sipped his wine. We're not easy people. I'm starting to notice that, Junior snorted. Marco's eyes narrowed. She's got spirit, Marco said. I'll give you that. But spirit doesn't survive long in our world. She's survived everything you've thrown at her so far, Dante said quietly. Have we thrown anything? I thought we'd been welcoming. You've been testing. There's a difference. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Testing implies I'm not sure of something, Marco said. I'm very sure of what I see. A girl out of her depth, playing a role she doesn't understand. Sophia felt Dante tense beside her, felt the fury radiating off him. With respect, sir, she said, keeping her voice level, you see what you expect to see. Maybe that's the point. Silence. Junior's eyes widened. Even Dante looked surprised. Marco set down his glass very carefully. Explain. You wanted Dante to marry someone traditional, someone who wouldn't threaten the business or the family structure, someone you could control. She met his gaze steadily. I'm that on the surface, but underestimating people is dangerous. Your son taught me that. Did he now? Marco's smile was cold. And what else has my son taught you? That power isn't always loud, that sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones everyone ignores. She paused. That love can be a weapon or a weakness, depending on how you use it. Love. Marco said the word like it tasted bad. Is that what this is? That's what you wanted, isn't it? A love match to satisfy tradition? I wanted stability, an heir, a woman who knew her place. Then you got exactly what you asked for. Sophia stood, done with this game. If you'll excuse me, I need some air. She walked out before anyone could respond, her heart hammering. That had been stupid, reckless. Exactly the kind of thing Dante had warned her against. She made it to the garden before footsteps followed her. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. She turned. Junior stood there, hands in his pockets, that oily smile in place. I vote stupid, he continued. You just made an enemy of the most dangerous man in the city. I thought that was Dante. Dante's dangerous to strangers. Marco's dangerous to family. Junior moved closer. You should have stayed in your lane, Sophia, played the grateful little wife. Instead, you showed teeth, and now he's going to crush you. Is there a point to this conversation? The point is, I'm offering you a way out. Excuse me? Junior pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. Dante meeting with someone she didn't recognize, time-stamped from 2 days ago. Know who that is? Junior asked. She shook her head. FBI, your fiancé's been meeting with federal agents, cutting deals to save his own skin. Junior pocketed the phone. When this all comes crashing down, and it will, you'll be collateral damage. Unless you're smart. And let me guess. You're offering to protect me? I'm offering you the same deal Dante gave you. Money, security, a way out. All you have to do is walk away. Let the engagement fall apart publicly. Give Marco a reason to hand the business to me instead. You're insane. I'm practical. Dante's going down. Take the exit while you can. Sophia's mind raced. This was a trap. Had to be. But the photo looked real. And Dante had been secretive lately about certain meetings. I need to think about it, she said carefully. Don't think too long. Things are about to get very ugly. Junior started to leave, paused. Oh, and Sophia? That little speech in there? About love being a weapon? You were right, and Marco's about to teach you exactly how sharp that weapon can be. He disappeared into the darkness, leaving Sophia alone with doubt eating at her insides. She wanted to trust Dante, wanted to believe Junior was lying. But she'd seen the file, read the notes, knew Dante operated in shades of gray that most people couldn't navigate. What if Junior was right? What if this had all been another layer of manipulation she'd been too blind to see? Sophia. Dante's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the house, face shadowed. What did Junior say to you? She should tell him, should lay it all out and trust he'd explain. Instead, she said, nothing important, just trying to get under my skin. Did it work? No. The lie tasted bitter, but until she knew the truth, she couldn't risk showing her hand. Dante studied her for a long moment. You're lying. So are you. About what? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. She walked past him, back into the house, feeling his eyes on her back. The game had changed again. And this time, Sophia wasn't sure whose side she was on. District. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in paranoia. Sophia started paying attention to things she'd missed before. Dante's late-night phone calls he took in another room. Meetings that appeared on his calendar with no details. The way he'd sometimes look at her like he was calculating odds. She said nothing. Played the excited bride. Smiled through final dress fittings and menu tastings while her mind spun conspiracy theories. Was Junior telling the truth? Was Dante cutting deals that would destroy them all? Or was this exactly what Junior wanted? Doubt, division, weakness? The training sessions continued, but they felt different now. Less about building her up, more like Dante was preparing her for war. You're distracted again, he said, blocking her strike. I'm fine. You're sloppy. If I were an actual threat, you'd be dead. Maybe I'm tired of training for threats that never come. They're coming. Trust me. That's the problem, isn't it? Trust. Dante lowered his hands. What's that supposed to mean? It means I don't know what's real anymore. This, us, any of it. Sophia, are you working with the FBI? The question hung there like a grenade with the pin pulled. Dante's expression went carefully blank. Who told you that? Does it matter? Is it true? It's complicated. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now. Sophia stepped back, something breaking in her chest. You are. You're cutting a deal. I'm protecting you. By lying to me? By making me a pawn in whatever game you're playing? By keeping you alive? His control cracked. You think this is about deals? About my father or Junior or any of it? This is about the fact that everything I've built is about to come crashing down, and the only way to keep you safe is to make sure you're not standing in the rubble when it does. Then let me decide. Let me choose whether I want to be safe or whether I want to stand with you. It's not that simple. It is that simple. Either you trust me or you don't. They stared at each other, both breathing hard, and Sophia saw it in his eyes. He didn't trust her. Not completely, maybe not at all. The wedding's in 5 days, Dante said finally. After that, we'll talk. I'll tell you everything, but right now I need you to trust that I'm doing what's necessary. That's not good enough. It has to be. No, it doesn't. Sophia left the gym, left Dante standing there, and went to her room. Locked the door. And for the first time since agreeing to this insane arrangement, let herself cry. Because somewhere along the way, she'd fallen in love with a man who would never fully let her in. And that hurt worse than any insult Victoria Chen could throw. The next morning, she found a note slipped under her door. We need to talk. Midnight, the study. Come alone. D. But the handwriting was wrong. Too slanted, too careful. This wasn't from Dante, which meant someone was setting a trap. And Sophia had to decide whether walking into it was the stupidest or bravest thing she could do. She thought about everything Dante had taught her, about reading situations, about trust and betrayal, about the fact that in his world, hesitation got you killed. At 11:55 p.m., she walked to the study. The door was ajar, lights off. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around. She pushed the door open anyway. Hello, Sophia. Not Dante's voice. Junior stepped from the shadows, and he wasn't alone. 2 men flanked him, faces she didn't recognize. Glad you could make it, Junior continued. We have so much to discuss. The door slammed shut behind her, and Sophia realized she'd just made a very, very bad mistake. Sophia's heart slammed against her ribs, but she kept her face neutral. 2 months of training with Dante had taught her that much. Never let them see fear. Junior. She glanced at the 2 men flanking him. Cute bodyguards. Dante has better ones. Funny. That mouth of yours is going to get you in trouble one day. Junior moved closer, and she forced herself not to step back. Oh, wait. Today's that day. What do you want? What I've always wanted. The family business. My rightful place. He circled her slowly. But Dante's in the way. And now, so are you. I'm nobody. You said so yourself. I said you were out of your depth, past tense. Junior stopped in front of her. Turns out you're smarter than you look. All those little observations you've been feeding Dante, the intelligence you've been gathering, you've made yourself valuable, which makes you dangerous. Sophia's mind raced. How did he know about the briefings? Unless someone in Dante's inner circle was feeding Junior information. So what's the plan? Kill me? That'll really endear you to the family. Kill you? Please, I'm not a monster. Junior's smile said otherwise. I'm just going to make you disappear for a few days, long enough for Dante to lose his mind looking for you, long enough for him to make mistakes. And when Marco sees how weak his son has become over a woman, he'll give you what you want. Exactly. See? You are smart. One of the bodyguards moved behind her. Sophia felt the prick of something sharp against her neck. Don't fight it, Junior said. This'll be easier if you just... Sophia drove her elbow back hard, exactly like Dante had taught her, felt it connect with something soft. The man behind her grunted, stumbled. She spun, using his momentum against him, and slammed her palm up into his nose. Blood spurted. He went down. The second bodyguard lunged for her. She ducked, swept his legs, and he crashed into Junior. For one beautiful second, she had a clear path to the door. Then Junior's hand closed around her hair, yanking her back so hard her scalp screamed. Stupid, he hissed in her ear. You're just making this harder on yourself. Pain exploded across her skull as he slammed her head against the desk. Once. Twice. The room tilted, darkened at the edges. Get her in the car, Junior snapped. And someone find the other syringe before she... The study door exploded inward. Through her blurred vision, Sophia saw Dante, saw the gun in his hand, saw the expression on his face that made Junior go very, very still. "Let her go." Dante's voice was flat, dead. The voice of a man with nothing left to lose. "Or what? You'll shoot me? Your own cousin?" "Without hesitation." Junior laughed, but it sounded forced. "You won't. Marco would never forgive." The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Junior screamed. The hand in Sophia's hair released as he crumpled, clutching his leg where blood bloomed through expensive fabric. "I said let her go." Dante's gun swung to the bodyguards. "You two, out! Now!" They ran. Sophia slumped against the desk, head pounding, trying to focus. Dante moved to her side, one hand steadying her while the gun stayed trained on Junior. "Can you walk?" She nodded, even though the room was spinning. "Good. Because we're leaving." "You shot me!" Junior's voice was high with shock and pain. "You actually shot me!" "Be grateful I aimed low. Next time I won't." Dante pulled out his phone with his free hand, never taking his eyes off Junior. "Mira, code red. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Have everything ready." Dante, Sophia's voice came out wrong, slurred. He said, "Someone's feeding him information. Someone close to you." "I know. We'll deal with it later." He helped her toward the door, keeping Junior in his peripheral vision. "Can you make it to the car?" "Yeah, I think so." They were almost to the hallway when Junior's voice stopped them. "This doesn't change anything. You're still going down. The FBI, the indictments, all of it. And when it happens, everyone you care about burns with you." Dante turned back, and Sophia saw something terrible in his expression. "You're right," he said quietly, "which is why I'm getting her out before that happens." Understanding hit Sophia like ice water. "What?" "We'll talk in the car. Come on." "No, talk now. What did he mean, indictments?" "Sophia, what did he mean?" Dante's jaw tightened. "It means everything Junior said was true. The FBI has been building a case against my father for years, and they offered me a deal, testify against him, walk away clean." The words hit like physical blows. "You're turning on your own father. I'm choosing survival over loyalty to a man who never showed me any." He pulled her toward the stairs. "And I'm choosing you over this whole damn empire." They made it to the ground floor before Sophia's legs gave out. Dante caught her, lifted her like she weighed nothing. "I've got you," he murmured. "Just stay with me." The garage was chaos. Mira had 3 bags packed, a car running, and an expression that said she'd been expecting this. "How bad?" she asked, looking at Sophia's head. "Concussion, probably. We need to move." "Hospital?" "Can't risk it. Junior will have people watching." Dante settled Sophia in the back seat, climbed in beside her. "There's a safe house upstate, doctor I trust. We'll go there." Mira got behind the wheel, and they were moving before Sophia could process what was happening. "My mother," she managed. "We can't leave her already handled. She's being moved to a private facility under a different name, protected." "How long have you been planning this?" Dante's hand found hers in the darkness. "Since the night you kissed me. Since I realized I couldn't protect you and stay in this world. So I chose you." Tears burned behind her eyes, mixing with the pain pounding through her skull. "You should have told me." "I know. I thought you were betraying me." "I know that too. I hate you." "I know." His voice cracked. "But you're alive, so I'll take it." Sophia closed her eyes, exhaustion and pain pulling her under. The last thing she felt was Dante's hand tightening around hers. The last thing she heard was him whispering, "I'm sorry. For all of it." Then darkness swallowed her whole. She woke to white walls and the smell of antiseptic. For one terrible moment, she thought she was back in the hospital with her mother, watching cancer eat away at the only family she had. Then Dante's voice cut through the fog. "Easy. Don't try to sit up yet." Memory crashed back. Junior, the study, the gunshot. "Where are we?" "Safe house, about 3 hours north of the city." Dante sat beside the bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "The doctor checked you over. Mild concussion, some bruising, but you'll be okay." Sophia touched her head, felt bandages. "How long was I out?" 18 hours. You kept drifting in and out. He paused. You called me a bastard at one point. Pretty sure you meant it. I did. Fair. She looked around the room, small, sparse, nothing like the mansion. Where's Mira? Handling cleanup, making sure your mother's secure, dealing with the fact that I shot my cousin. He scrubbed a hand over his face. Marco's going to come after us. Hard. Then why aren't we running farther? Because running forever isn't living. And I promised you a life, not just survival. Dante stood, moved to the window. The FBI has everything they need, my testimony, documents, recordings. In 3 days, they're arresting Marco and half the family, including Junior. You're really doing it, burning it all down. I'm burning down the parts that deserve to burn. The trafficking, the violence, the people who treat human beings like commodities. His reflection in the window was hard. My father built an empire on suffering. I'm ending it. And after? What happens to you? Witness protection, most likely. New name, new life. The deal protects me from prosecution, but not from revenge. He turned to face her. Which is why you need to disappear too. New identity, money to start over, somewhere far from here. Sophia sat up despite the pounding in her head. Alone? It's the only way to keep you safe. That's not what I asked. Dante crossed back to the bed, knelt beside it so they were eye level. The wedding was supposed to be a cover, a way to satisfy my father while I prepared to betray him. But somewhere along the way, it became real for me. You became real. His hand cupped her face, gentle despite the calluses, which is exactly why I can't ask you to stay. Everyone I've ever cared about ends up collateral damage. I won't do that to you. What if I want to be collateral? Then you're as stupid as you are brave. Probably, but I'm also in love with you, so rational thinking went out the window a while ago. The words hung between them, impossible to take back. Dante's expression cracked. Sophia, I know it's a disaster. I know you're dangerous and broken and probably going to get me killed, but I also know that the past 3 months have been the most alive I've felt in my entire life. She grabbed his shirt, pulled him closer. So stop trying to protect me and let me decide what I'm willing to risk. This isn't just risk, it's guaranteed pain. Then we'll hurt together, better than hurting alone. He kissed her then, hard and desperate, like she was oxygen and he was drowning. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. Love someone without destroying them. Then we'll figure it out, together. That's a terrible plan. You got a better one? Despite everything, he laughed. No, I really don't. The next 2 days passed in a strange bubble of domesticity and danger. Dante taught her how to shoot, not the training room stuff, but real combat shooting. How to clear a room. How to know if someone was following her. How to disappear if things went wrong. You're preparing me for war, she said after a particularly intense session. I'm preparing you for reality. My father has people everywhere. When the arrests happen, they're going to scramble. Some will go to ground. Others will come for revenge. Against you. Against anyone I care about, which unfortunately now includes you. Sophia checked the gun's magazine like he'd taught her. Your flattery needs work. I'm serious. Once this starts, there's no going back. You need to be ready. I am ready. She wasn't, not really, but she was done being the helpless girl everyone underestimated. That night, Mira arrived with news that made Dante go pale. Your father knows, she said without preamble. He knows about the deal, about the testimony, all of it. How? The FBI agent you were working with, Daniels, Junior got to him, bought him off. Mira pulled out her tablet, showed them photos of Daniels' meeting with Junior. He fed Junior everything, and Junior went straight to Marco. Dante's expression went cold. When? This morning. Marco's called a family meeting for tomorrow night. Every made man, every associate. He's going to make an example. Of who? Mira looked at Sophia. Anyone connected to his son's betrayal. The implication was clear. He doesn't know where we are, Dante said. Doesn't matter. He has your mother, Sophia. Moved her from the facility to an undisclosed location. Says if you don't turn yourself over by tomorrow night, he'll make her death slow. Sophia's blood turned to ice. No, he wouldn't. He absolutely would. Marco doesn't bluff. Then we go to the FBI. They can protect her. Mira shook her head. Daniels was the only agent who knew the safe house location. With him compromised, we can't trust anyone in the bureau. Dante stood, started pacing. Options? We run. Take Sophia and disappear so deep Marco will never find you. And leave my mother to die? Sophia's voice cracked. Absolutely not. Sophia, no, I won't do it. I won't survive because she didn't. She looked at Dante. We have to get her out. That's suicide. Marco will have the place locked down. Guards, cameras, the works. Then we'll be smart about it. There is no smart about this. It's a trap. He's using your mother as bait. I know that. Tears burned her eyes. But she's my mother. She's dying. And I won't let her last days be spent terrified because of choices I made. Dante stopped pacing, looked at her with something like resignation. You're not going to let this go. Would you? If it was someone you loved? He was quiet for a long moment. No, I wouldn't. Then help me. Please. Mira cleared her throat. For what it's worth, I might have an idea. Terrible idea, probably going to get us all killed, but an idea. The plan was insane. They'd use the wedding as cover. The one scheduled for tomorrow. The event Marco would never cancel because it would show weakness. The ceremony where the entire family would be gathered, along with press, allies, enemies, everyone who mattered in their world. He's expecting you to run, Mira explained. So we do the opposite. We show up, we get married. And while everyone's watching the ceremony, a team extracts your mother. What team? Sophia asked. We can't trust the FBI. No. But we can trust people who owe Dante favors, the kind of favors you don't refuse. Mira looked at Dante. You saved Victor Torres from that trafficking charge 3 years ago. His daughter from those kidnappers last year. Half the people at that wedding owe you their lives or their freedom. And the other half want me dead. Which is why this is insane, but it's also the only play we have. Dante turned to Sophia. If we do this, we're all in. No backing out when it gets ugly. I'm all in. Marco will know something's wrong the second we walk through those doors. Let him know. We're not hiding anymore. He studied her for a long moment, then turned to Mira. Make the calls. Get the team in place. And prep the wedding venue. I want every exit mapped, every contingency planned. Already done. Of course you did. Dante almost smiled. What would I do without you? Die, probably. Or make terrible life choices. Oh wait, you already did that when you fell in love with a waitress and decided to destroy your family. She was a very pretty waitress. I'm standing right here, Sophia said. We know. Mira grinned. Now let's go get your mother and burn this empire to the ground. The wedding venue was exactly as Sophia remembered. The cathedral where they'd planned the ceremony back when it was all a lie. Now walking up those same steps with Dante, knowing her mother's life hung in the balance, it felt surreal. Smile, Dante murmured. Cameras are already here. She smiled, waved, played the excited bride while her stomach churned. Inside, the cathedral was packed. Every important family, every ally, every enemy. And at the front, in the place of honor, sat Marco Salvatore with an expression that promised violence. He knows, Sophia whispered. Of course he knows. But he can't act, not here, not with all these witnesses. Dante's hand tightened on hers. We just need to survive the ceremony. Then extraction team gets your mother, and we're gone. And if something goes wrong, then we improvise. They'd reached the front of the cathedral. The priest waited, looking nervous. Junior sat in the front row, leg in a cast, murder in his eyes. The ceremony began. Sophia barely heard the words. She was too focused on the exits Mira had mapped. The faces in the crowd, who was armed, who was watching too closely, who looked ready to move. The rings, the priest said. Dante slid a band onto her finger. Not the obscene engagement rock, but something simpler, more real. Her hand shook as she did the same for him. Do you, Dante Salvatore, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. And do you, Sophia Russo, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? This was it, the moment everything became irrevocable. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you. The cathedral doors exploded inward. Federal agents poured through, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands that echoed off stone walls. Nobody move! FBI! Chaos erupted. People screaming, running for exits that were already blocked. Marco on his feet, face purple with rage. Junior trying to flee and being tackled by 3 agents. Dante pulled Sophia close as the world went mad around them. The arrests, she breathed. They're early. No, they're exactly on time. Dante's voice was grim. I moved up the timeline. Couldn't risk Marco having advance warning. But the extraction team is already in position. They have your mother. She's safe. Relief made her knees weak. You knew. This whole time you knew the FBI would be here. I planned it. This wedding, this moment, it was the only way to get everyone in one place, to protect you while ending this. He cupped her face. I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I needed your fear to be real. Your surprise. Otherwise Marco would have seen through it. She should be angry, should feel manipulated. Instead, she kissed him, hard and desperate, while federal agents arrested his father 10 feet away. When they broke apart, Marco was being led past them in handcuffs. He stopped, looked at Dante with pure hatred. You'll regret this. Blood doesn't forgive betrayal. Good thing I stopped caring about your forgiveness years ago. Dante's arm tightened around Sophia. I chose her over you, and I'd do it again. Marco spat at their feet. The agents dragged him away. Junior was next, hobbling on his cast, screaming threats that grew fainter as they took him out. The cathedral emptied slowly. By the time the last agents filed out, it was just Dante and Sophia standing at the altar like shell-shocked survivors. So, Sophia said finally, we're married. Legally, yes, though I don't think this is how you pictured your wedding day. I pictured Romano's Bistro until I died. This is definitely an upgrade. Despite everything, he laughed. Your bar is devastatingly low. Lucky for you. An agent approached, older woman, kind eyes. Mr. Salvatore, we need you to come with us, debriefing, processing, all the fun bureaucratic stuff. How long? Few hours, maybe overnight. She looked at Sophia. You're welcome to wait, or we can arrange transport. I'll wait. The agent nodded, started to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, what you did today took guts. Both of you. When they were alone again, Dante pulled Sophia close. Last chance to run, he said. Annul the marriage, take your money, disappear into a normal life. Is that what you want? I want you safe, happy, everything I can't guarantee. Then stop trying to guarantee things and just be with me. It won't be easy. Witness protection, new identities, looking over our shoulders for the rest of our lives. Sounds terrible. It will be. Then we'll be terrible together. She rested her head against his chest, heard his heart pounding. I love you. Even though you're a manipulative bastard who planned an entire FBI raid around our wedding ceremony. I love you too. Even though you're reckless and stubborn and just agreed to marry someone in witness protection. Guess we're both idiots. Catastrophically. They stood there in the empty cathedral, holding each other while their old lives burned down around them. And somehow, despite everything, it felt like the beginning of something worth fighting for. The debriefing lasted 3 days. Sophia spent most of that time in a safe house with her mother, both of them under federal protection, while Dante gave testimony that would dismantle his father's empire piece by piece. Her mother was weaker than she'd been before Marco moved her, the stress having taken its toll, but alive, breathing, safe. You married him, her mother said on the second day, looking at the simple band on Sophia's finger. For real this time. For real this time. And you love him? It wasn't a question, but Sophia answered anyway. More than I thought I could love anyone, which is either the smartest or stupidest thing I've ever done. Her mother smiled, that same knowing smile she'd worn when Sophia was 16 and insisted she wasn't interested in the boy next door. Love's always both. That's what makes it worth it. Even when it's complicated? Especially then. Easy love doesn't teach you anything. Her mother reached for Sophia's hand, squeezed with what little strength she had left. You were invisible your whole life, baby. People looked through you like you were glass. But he sees you, really sees you. That's rare. Don't let fear ruin it. What if I'm not strong enough? For what comes next? You took on a crime boss, survived his family, and helped bring down an empire. I think you'll manage. When Dante finally returned on the fourth day, he looked hollowed out. 3 days of reliving every crime, every betrayal, every terrible thing he'd witnessed or participated in had carved lines into his face that hadn't been there before. Sophia met him at the door, pulled him into her arms without a word. He held on like she was the only solid thing in a world that had gone liquid. "It's done," he said finally. "All of it. The testimony, the evidence, everything they need to put Marco and Junior away for the rest of their lives. And you?" "Witness protection starts next week. New names, new location, new everything." He pulled back to look at her. "Last chance to change your mind. Stop offering me exits. I have to. Sophia, this is permanent. Once we disappear, we can't come back. Can't contact anyone from our old lives. Your friends, I didn't have friends. I had coworkers who barely knew my name and a life that was killing me slowly." She cupped his face. "You gave me a reason to be more than invisible. I'm not giving that up. What about your mother?" That was the knife in her chest, the one choice that actually hurt. "She's coming with us. As long as she can. As long as—" Sophia's voice cracked. "The doctors say maybe 6 months. Maybe less. Then we'll make them count." They spent the next week preparing. New identities, Daniel and Sophie Morgan. Married couple relocating for work. New histories, new backgrounds, new everything. The Marshalls were thorough, drilling them on their cover stories until they could recite them in their sleep. "You met in college," the handler said. "Both of you studied business. Married 5 years, no kids. Daniel works in consulting, Sophie in nonprofit management. Your mother's name is Margaret Ross, no relation to your previous identity. She's moving with you for end-of-life care." It was strange, putting on someone else's life like a coat, but Sophia had been doing that for months. At least this time, the person she was pretending to be got to keep Dante. The location they chose was a small coastal town in Oregon, far from New York, far from the life they'd left behind. The house the Marshalls arranged was modest, nothing like the mansion, but it had a view of the ocean and a front porch where her mother could sit and watch the waves. "It's perfect," her mother said when they first arrived, her voice barely above a whisper. And for a while it was. They fell into routines that felt almost normal. Dante working from home, consulting for companies that didn't know his real background. Sophia volunteering at a local women's shelter, using everything she'd learned about survival to help others escape their own dangerous situations. Her mother spending her good days on the porch, bad days in bed, but always surrounded by people who loved her. "Tell me something," Sophia said one night, lying in bed with Dante after her mother had finally fallen asleep. "Do you regret it? Burning everything down?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I regret that it took me so long. That I spent years building something rotten because I thought that's what family meant." His hand found hers in the darkness. "But I don't regret choosing you. Even if it all went to hell tomorrow, I wouldn't regret you." "That's the most romantic thing you've ever said." "Still depressing, but romantic." "I'm working on it. Work faster. I'm not getting any younger." He kissed her, soft and slow, and Sophia let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they'd actually gotten away with it. Then the call came. 3 months into their new life, Dante's phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer. They'd been told not to, that any unknown contact could be a threat. But something made him pick up. "Hello?" "Dante." Mira's voice tight with fear. "We have a problem." His whole body went rigid. "How did you get this number?" "Long story." "Listen, Marco's people found me. They know I helped you, and they're—" Her voice broke. "They're using me to get to you. They want a meeting, you and Sophia, tomorrow night, Pier 39 in Seattle." "That's a trap." "Obviously. But they said if you don't show, they'll start killing people you helped. Elena Castellano, Victor Torre, everyone who owes you a favor." A pause. "They have lists, Dante. Names, addresses, families, and they'll burn through every single one until you surface." Sophia sat up, reading the tension in Dante's posture. "What's wrong?" He covered the phone. "Marco's people. They found Mira. How is that possible? The marshals said, the marshals were wrong. He went back to the call. Who's running this, Junior? Worse, your Uncle Luca. He got out on a technicality, and he's been systematically tracking down anyone connected to the family's collapse. Mira's breathing was ragged. Dante, he's not playing games. He's already killed 2 people. This is real. Then we run, disappear deeper. They'll find you. They found me, and I'm good at hiding. A bitter laugh. The only way this ends is if you end it. Dante closed his eyes. Mira, I know what I'm asking. I know what it means. But you're the only one who can stop this. He hung up, sat there in the darkness with the weight of impossible choices pressing down. We have to go, Sophia said. No, absolutely not. That's exactly what they want. And if we don't, innocent people die, people who helped us. She grabbed his arm. We can't hide from this. You taught me that. Running forever isn't living. I taught you survival. This is the opposite. No, this is finishing what we started. She met his gaze steadily. We burned down the empire, but we didn't kill the roots. Your uncle, whoever else survived, they're still out there, still dangerous, and they'll keep coming until we stop them. Or until they kill us. Maybe. But I'd rather die fighting than spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder. Dante pulled her close, pressed his forehead to hers. When did you get so brave? When I met a man stupid enough to fall in love with a waitress and burn his whole world down for her. Kind of raised my standards for courage. Despite everything, he smiled. This is insane. All the best plans are. They told her mother the next morning. She took it better than expected, maybe because she'd already survived more than most people could imagine, or maybe because she simply didn't have the energy left to argue. You come back, she said, gripping Sophia's hand with surprising strength. Whatever happens, you come back to me. I didn't survive this long to die without saying goodbye properly. I will. I promise. And you, she looked at Dante. You keep her safe, or I'll haunt you. I mean it. Yes, ma'am. They drove to Seattle in silence, both running through scenarios, both knowing this could end a dozen different ways, and most of them were bad. The pier was exactly what Sophia expected. Isolated, dark, the kind of place where bodies disappeared and no one asked questions. Dante parked 2 blocks away, checked his gun for the 3rd time. The marshals know we're here, he said. I called them before we left. They'll have people in position. How close? Close enough to intervene if things go wrong. Not close enough to prevent us from getting hurt. He looked at her. Last chance. You can still walk away. Let me handle this. We're past that. We're in this together. Then stay behind me. And if I tell you to run, I won't. Sophia, I said I won't. We stand together or we fall together. Those are the only options. They walked to the pier hand in hand, and Sophia had never been more terrified or more certain of anything in her life. Luca Salvatore was waiting at the end of the pier, flanked by 4 men who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. He was older than Dante, grayer, with the same cold eyes that ran in the family. Nephew, he said, the word dripping contempt, and the whore who destroyed everything. How domestic. Let Mira go, Dante said, ignoring the insult. This is between us. Is it? Because from where I stand, everyone's involved. You didn't just betray Marco, you betrayed the family, the code, everything we built. Everything you built on corpses and suffering, yeah, I betrayed that, and I'd do it again. Luca's expression didn't change. I figured as much, which is why I'm giving you a choice. You can die here, tonight, quick and clean. Or you can watch everyone you've ever cared about die slowly while you live with the guilt. Or option 3, Sophia said, her voice steadier than she felt. We kill you and end this. Luca laughed. The waitress has teeth. I like that. Shame you won't live long enough to use them. Where's Mira? Dante's hand moved closer to his gun. Safe. For now. You want her back, you trade yourself. Simple. And her? Dante gestured to Sophia. Her? She dies regardless. She's the cancer that infected you, the weakness that brought down the family. I'm doing you a favor. Everything happened at once. Luca's men drew weapons. Dante shoved Sophia down, pulled his own gun. Shots exploded across the pier, deafening in the salt air. Sophia rolled, came up with the gun Dante had given her, fired at the nearest man. Watched him drop. Felt nothing but the ice-cold focus Dante had trained into her. More gunfire. Federal agents swarming from the shadows. The marshals had been closer than Dante thought. The pier erupted into chaos, bullets and shouting and bodies hitting the ground. Through it all, Sophia kept moving, kept firing, kept searching for Dante in the madness. She found him locked in combat with Luca, both of them bloody, both refusing to go down. She raised her gun, tried to get a clean shot, but they were moving too fast. Then Luca's knife found Dante's side. Sophia screamed, fired without thinking. The bullet caught Luca in the shoulder, spun him around. Dante used the opening, drove his own blade up under Luca's ribs. Luca went down hard, gasping, blood pooling beneath him. "You," he choked out, looking at Sophia. "You did this, all of it." "Yeah," she said, standing over him. "I did, and I'd do it again." He died with fury in his eyes. The shooting stopped. Federal agents secured the pier, arrested the surviving men, called for medical. Sophia dropped her gun and ran to Dante, who was on his knees, hand pressed to his bleeding side. "I'm okay," he said before she could ask. "It's not deep. I'm okay." "You're bleeding." "I've bled before." "That's not comforting." Wasn't trying to be comforting, was trying to... He swayed and she caught him. Paramedics arrived, loaded him into an ambulance over his protests. Sophia climbed in beside him, holding his hand while they worked. "Mira?" he asked the nearest marshal. "We found her. She's roughed up, but alive. They had her in a warehouse 2 miles from here." Relief flooded his face. "Good. That's good." The marshal looked at Sophia. "You both did good tonight. Reckless, but good." "Is it over?" she asked. "Really over?" "Luca was the last one with the resources to come after you. With him gone, the family's finished. Done." The marshal paused. "You can actually disappear now. Live your lives." At the hospital, they stitched Dante up and declared him lucky. The knife had missed anything vital. He'd have a scar, more pain to add to his collection, but he'd survive. They all would. Mira met them at the hospital, bruised and bandaged, but alive. She hugged Dante so hard he grunted in pain. "Idiot," she muttered. "Complete idiot. Love you too. I quit. Effective immediately. This is the last time I'm saving your ass. You say that every time. This time I mean it." But she was smiling through tears. When they were alone again, waiting for discharge papers, Dante pulled Sophia onto the hospital bed beside him. "So," he said, "we survived." "Barely." "Still counts." He kissed her temple. "What do we do now?" "We go home. We spend time with my mother. We build a life that's actually ours instead of someone else's design." Sounds boring. Sounds perfect. And somehow, impossibly, it was. Sophia's mother died 4 months later, on a Tuesday morning with sun streaming through the windows and both of them holding her hands. "I'm proud of you," she whispered to Sophia near the end. "You were invisible and you made yourself seen. That takes strength most people never find. I learned from you. Liar. But I love you for saying it." Her eyes found Dante. "Take care of my girl." "With my life," he promised. She smiled. "Good. Because she'll kick your ass if you don't." Those were her last words. She drifted off after that, breathing slowing, until finally it just stopped. Sophia sat there holding her hand for a long time after, feeling the weight of being truly alone in the world for the first time. Except she wasn't alone. Dante held her while she cried, made arrangements she couldn't think through, stood beside her at a small funeral attended by people from their new life who'd never known Margaret Ross was really someone else entirely. The grief was sharp and awful and somehow survivable because she didn't have to carry it alone. She would have liked this, Sophia said after, standing on their porch and looking at the ocean, the quiet, the peace, everything we built. She got to see you happy. That's something. Yeah, it is. They stood there in silence, and Sophia realized she'd come full circle. Started as a girl no one noticed, became someone else entirely, and ended up right back at Invisible, just in a better way this time. a chosen invisibility where she controlled who saw her and who didn't. I want to do something, she said suddenly. With the money from the deal, something that matters. What are you thinking? A foundation. For women trapped like I was, working dead-end jobs, buried in debt, watching family members die because they can't afford care. She turned to face him. We could actually help people. Make something good out of all the terrible. Dante studied her for a long moment, then smiled. You know what? That sounds perfect. They started small, a local program helping women escape poverty, providing job training and medical assistance and resources Sophia wished she'd had years ago. But it grew. Within a year, they'd expanded to 3 cities. Within 2, they were national. Sophia ran it from their small Oregon house, using skills she'd learned from watching Dante navigate his world, how to read people, how to build networks, how to turn resources into real change. She was good at it, better than she'd ever been at being invisible. And Dante was right there with her, using his business mind for something that actually built instead of destroyed. They had fights. Real ones, not the careful disagreements of people afraid to push. Screaming matches about foundation direction, or whose turn it was to do dishes, or whether his paranoia about security was justified or excessive. They had reconciliations that usually involved Sophia pointing out he was being an idiot, and Dante admitting she was right with the grudging acceptance of a man not used to being wrong. They had moments of perfect quiet where they sat on the porch and watched the ocean and didn't need words to understand each other. They had a life. On their 5th anniversary, real anniversary counting from the chaotic cathedral ceremony, Sophia woke to find Dante already up, coffee made, looking out at the water with an expression she'd learned meant he was thinking too hard. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing's wrong. I'm just... He turned to face her. I never thought I'd make it here. To this. 5 years of normal, of actually being happy. That sounds like a complaint. It's an observation. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. For something to go wrong, for my past to catch up. He pulled her close. But it hasn't. We're actually okay. We're more than okay. We're alive. We're building something good. And you haven't shot anyone in years. 4 years? And he had it coming. He was a door-to-door salesman. An aggressive door-to-door salesman. She laughed, the sound carrying over the waves. You're impossible. And yet you married me. Biggest mistake of my life. You say that, but... She kissed him, shutting up whatever joke he was building to. When they broke apart, she rested her forehead against his. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For seeing me, when no one else did. For choosing me when you could have had anyone. For giving me a life instead of just survival. Sophia, let me finish. I was invisible my whole life, fading into backgrounds, disappearing into rooms, existing without living. And you dangerous, broken, impossible man, you made me visible, not to the world, to myself. She pulled back to look at him. That's the real gift. Not the money or the safety or in any of it. You taught me I was worth seeing. Dante's eyes were suspiciously bright. I didn't teach you that. I just recognized what was already there. Then we'll call it even. They stood there on their porch, 5 years and a lifetime away from a girl spilling ice water and a man seeing opportunity. 5 years from a fake engagement that became real in the most unexpected way. You know what the crazy part is? Dante said. What? I made a $5 million bet that I could marry someone for 6 months without caring, and I lost it in less than 3. You lost it the night I kissed you. Admit it. I lost it the night you stood up to my father, but the kiss definitely sealed it. Sophia smiled, watching the sunrise paint the ocean gold. Worth it? Every dollar? Every risk? Every moment of terror. He kissed her temple. I'd lose that bet 1,000 times to end up here. From invisible to unforgettable. From surviving to living. From a transaction to a truth. They'd started as a deal built on desperation and ended as something neither of them had planned for. 2 broken people who found a way to be whole together. The foundation expanded to 10 cities. Then 20. Sophia hired staff who understood what it meant to be trapped, who'd lived through their own versions of invisibility. They helped thousands of women find their way out of impossible situations, gave them resources and hope and futures they'd stopped believing in. Dante worked beside her, putting his strategic mind toward good for the first time in his life. He was better at it than either of them expected. Turned out the skills that built criminal empires also worked for building legitimate ones. You just had to point them in the right direction. They bought the house they'd been renting, made it truly theirs, planted a garden that Sophia tended with the same care she'd once used to survive 12-hour shifts, adopted a dog that Dante pretended to hate but secretly spoiled with expensive treats. They visited Mira twice a year. She'd settled in Colorado, opened a security consulting firm, and absolutely did not want anything to do with their domestic nonsense, but always hugged them too long when they showed up. They had nieces and nephews through the foundation. Not blood, but family anyway. Kids who'd grown up and come back to volunteer, to give back what had been given to them. One of them, a sharp-eyed girl named Maria, who reminded Sophia of herself, now ran the East Coast operations. They had arguments about whether to expand internationally, about hiring decisions, about the fact that Dante still checked the locks 3 times before bed and probably always would. They had quiet mornings and loud nights and everything in between. They had a life that was messier and harder and more beautiful than anything a $5 million deal could have bought. On the Foundation's 10th anniversary, they held a gala. Nothing like the events Sophia had endured in her old life, but a celebration of the people they'd helped and the lives they'd changed. Women spoke about escaping poverty, getting education, saving family members. Each story was an echo of Sophia's own. "You should say something," Dante murmured as the evening wound down. "I'm not good at speeches." "You're good at everything. You just pretend you're not." So she stood up, glass of champagne in hand, and looked at the room full of people who'd once been invisible like her. "I don't have anything profound to say," she started. "No big wisdom or inspiring quotes. I just want to say this. 10 years ago, I was drowning, working myself to death for nothing, watching my mother die, invisible to everyone, including myself. And then someone saw me, really saw me, and it changed everything." Her eyes found Dante's across the room. "But here's the thing I learned. Being seen isn't about someone else. It's about seeing yourself, about deciding you matter even when the world says you don't, about fighting for a life instead of just surviving one." She raised her glass. "So here's to all of us, the invisible people who made ourselves seen, the ones who fought when giving up was easier, the ones who chose to matter." The room erupted in applause, and Sophia sat down, her face burning, Dante's hand finding hers under the table. "That was good," he said. "That was terrifying. All the best things are." They'd said that before, would probably say it again. It was their truth, hard-won and honest. That night, lying in bed, Sophia thought about the girl she'd been, 26 and exhausted, spilling ice water on a dangerous man and accidentally changing her entire life. If she could go back and tell that girl what was coming, the fear and pain and impossible choices, but also the love and growth and purpose, would she? "Hey," Dante said in the darkness, "you're thinking too loud." "Sorry, just remembering." "Regrets?" "Not a single one." "You?" He pulled her closer, his arms familiar and safe and home. "I regret that it took me so long to realize what mattered, that I wasted years being what my father wanted instead of what I wanted, that I almost let you walk away because I was too scared to admit I needed you." "But you didn't. Let me walk away, I mean." "No, I was selfish, kept you even when I shouldn't have." "Best selfish decision you ever made." "Agreed." They lay there in comfortable silence, two people who'd survived the worst and built something from the ashes. Sophia Salvatore, no longer Russo, no longer invisible, fell asleep in the arms of a man who'd started as a deal and become her whole world. And somewhere, she liked to think, her mother was smiling, because the invisible girl had become unforgettable, and the dangerous man had become something even more terrifying, good. They'd taken a $5 million bet and turned it into a lifetime. Not perfect, never perfect, but real. And in the end, that was worth more than any amount of money could ever buy. The girl no one saw had become the only woman he could never lose, and the man everyone feared had become someone worth loving. Together, they'd built a life where being seen wasn't a gift someone gave you. It was a choice you made for yourself. That was the real victory. Not the empire they'd burned down, but the one they'd built up. Not the past they'd escaped, but the future they'd chosen. Two broken people who figured out how to be whole together, helping others do the same. And if that wasn't a happy ending, Sophia didn't know what was.